might be here a while, so grab your popcorn. If you watched my Mario Kart career video, you might recall me discussing the reprisal and reinvention of mission mode from Mario Kart DS. This time, I want to go more in detail about the missions themselves, bosses, the creative thinking behind them, and the completion rewards. The rewards, of course, being alternate costumes for select characters. So yeah, this also doubles as character skins I want to see in whatever the next Mario Kart game has in store. Rules are as follows. Every racetrack and battle course is featured at least once, costumes need to come from Mario games and can't be my own original creations, and I have to tie each tour to a certain theme or character. Not everything will fit perfectly, but I'll try my best. Of course, while you'll have the ability to choose whatever character and kart you want in most cases, every character is required to play at least once. So without further ado, let's go through the mode which I've named my Mario Kart after, Career Mode. Simply put, some of these challenges may be pretty generic and basic, but when there's more to its meaning, I'll be sure to divulge that when appropriate. I think it's also worth noting that Tours 1 through 4 will be in 50cc, befitting these beginner-level challenges. Toad Road is meant to be a starting track, not unlike its Mario Party 9 counterpart, showing off the fundamentals of Mario Kart like any good starting track should do. You'll have to complete a lap while collecting 20 coins. Again, super easy, and not meant to put pressure on newcomers to the series, which is why there's no time limit. The reward would be the Racing Mario alt. Nothing mind-blowing, I know, but the costume rewards will get a lot more interesting, I can assure you. Next is another stupidly easy challenge. Trick off 3 boost ramps under 30 seconds. The idea behind this track, Rooftop Rush, is that you'd be driving along and jumping from the top of one building to the next for the majority of the race. The idea would be to get the player to understand tricking in this game. The reward would be Blue Toad, as an alt for Toad. Mission 3 is driving through 5 numbered gates in order under 1 minute. More than enough time for a short distance. This could double as a way to teach the player to make tricky maneuvers and to alternate paths in the track. It takes place in a track called Piranha Plant Garden, so the reward would be Green Toad to loosely match with the theming. Mission 4 entails performing 10 mini turbos while finishing a lap. This is to get the player used to drifting and using mini turbos to get a slight speed boost. The reward for completing this mission is Yellow Toad. Mission 5 takes place at Kamek's Carnival, and the objective is to reach the finish while reversing. Accelerating forward will be disabled, and this is meant to get the player used to driving backwards and also looking behind them too. The completion reward is a Purple Toad alt. And at last, we have the Tour Boss. Racing the Chain Chomp is a callback to the DS mission where you had to race it at Peach Gardens. Only this time, you're forced to play as the default Toad but with a kart combo of your choosing. Item boxes always give triple mushrooms, and you'll need to leverage your speed, knowledge of the track's layout, and shortcuts to win this race. It's only a single lap on Toad Road, so this boss mission wouldn't take so long. Nevertheless, beating the Chain Chomp will unlock Captain Toad as an alt for Toad. So I'm sure you could see the pattern here. A basic Mario alt and Toad alts are unlockable for this mushroom tour. I'm sure you could see the connection. This is the extent of Toad's costumes, by the way. I wanted to give each colored Toad their slot alongside Captain Toad for being as popular as he is. I know some people may want to see power-up costumes for him, so my solution was to give those varied appearances to Toadette. More on that later. Each boss mission will also be played by one of the original cast from Super Mario Kart along with other main characters from the Mario franchise. But with that all cleared up, we can move on to the Fire Flower Tour. Even though we're still in the easier tours of Career Mode, the challenge will begin to ramp up ever so slightly, such as with the first mission where we have to collect 10 coins under 1 minute. Not unlike the first mission of the previous tour, only this time with a time restriction. The course I had in mind would be similar aesthetically to Thwomp Ruins from 8, but features mushrooms as its main motif. This mission's completion reward is Explorer Toadette. Mission 2's objective revolves around hitting 5 Goombas with green shells within an enclosed part of the track. It's meant to get players used to aiming and shooting green shells at enemies. Daisy in her tennis outfit would be the reward for completing this mission. And as per tradition, we gotta have an original Mario circuit in our new Mario Kart. Next mission is about crashing into 10 wooden crates while using the star item to speed things along. Waluigi gets his own circuit track because he's never had one up until this point. The reward for this mission is Daisy in her striker's outfit. But before we continue, I'd like to point out that if you select a costume that can't be worn on a bike or ATV like a dress, you'll be given their biker outfit but with the colors matching the alt you chose. This applies to any of the dresses worn by the princesses and such. The next mission requires the player to drive through 8 numbered gates in under a minute. It takes place on a track I call Kitchen Counter Cruise, since, of all the tiny huge tracks we've gotten in this series, we haven't had one based on a kitchen. I mean, we got a bedroom and a bathroom, we may as well get the other rooms while we're at it. The prize is Toadette in a propeller suit from New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe. Mission 5 asks you to reach the finish before Baby Peach while you're playing as Baby Daisy. Finally, right? An actual race. We're racing on Fluff Puff Peaks from Super Mario Bros. Wonder, which I envision to be like an ascent from the snowy part of the level up to the pink clouds above. Sort of like if Mount Wario was reversed, if you will. You'd be making use of the mushrooms you collect to stay ahead of Baby Peach and utilize shortcuts, sort of the lesson I wanted to impart from the first tour but put to practical use. And since the track is themed on Mario Wonder, it's only fitting the reward is the Bubble Daisy alt. And with those missions done, we reach the boss stage. This time we're on an actual battle course and not a racetrack. It's Flower vs. Flower, with Daisy taking on Petey Piranha. You're given 3 balloons to represent how many hits you can take before losing. There would be item boxes that only give you the heart item, and you'll need to collect them while Petey himself will fire brown paint and green shells from his mouth. The green shells can be picked up when the heart item's in use, and can throw them right back at him to damage him. When he's down to his final hit, he'll throw out tornadoes in addition to his other attacks that can spin you out and return green shells back in the direction they were fired from. So you'd have to time your final hit well in order to win this boss fight. And since Petey originated from Super Mario Sunshine, your completion reward is Mario's sunglasses and jacket appearance from said game. Up next is the Star Tour, and our first mission takes us to Diamond City based on the location from the WarioWare games. Not to be confused with the track of the same name from the arcade games. You'll have to hit 10 cars or trucks while using the star item in under 45 seconds. And once you've accomplished your task, you'll win the Blue Luma skin. Mission 2 is about completing a lap under 1 minute while reversing. We've had a similar mission objective already, but the time limit is meant to add more of a challenge to the familiar task. Yoshi Derby is meant to be reminiscent of real-life horse derbies since Yoshi's often Mario's steed. In a relatively simple track in these green pastures, players would ordinarily need to drive around or hop over hurdles, but the aesthetic looks a lot like the Yoshi games. Think of it as the design of Moo Moo Meadows and Excite Bike Arena combined with a Yoshi's Island coat of paint. Getting a star from the item boxes will enable you to finish the mission faster, and the completion reward is Green Luma. Mission 3 takes you to Freezy Valley, and you're tasked with driving through all the numbered gates in under 1 minute. But as the name implies, you'll have to avoid freezies lest you get frozen and slowed down. It's another reversing challenge, so the player should really understand how to drive while reversing by now. And you'll get a red Luma alt if you win. Next mission just requires you to reach the finish in under 1 minute at Candy Canyon. We gotta have our dessert-based track in there somewhere, but this mission is a sort of abridged time trial, if you will, and it just tests basic racing competency, and your completion reward is Apricot Luma. And on with Mission 5, which takes place in Lost Mangroves, which itself is based off of the first world from Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. You'd see your standard jungle and underwater driving alongside some set pieces from the levels like a shipwreck, crashed plane, minecart tracks, and so on. It's a much shorter mission, as this version of the track will have boost ramps we'll need to trick off of 5 times in less than 20 seconds. What makes this mission more noteworthy is that it's the first mission with kart restrictions. You'll have the freedom to choose a character, tires, and glider, but the chassis you start with will be locked. This mission's completion reward is Black Luma. The boss for the Star Tour is Pom-Pom, and the battle arena is Bowser's Rage Stage from Mario Wonder. Since we hadn't had a Bowser Castle-themed battle course since Battle Course 2 on the GBA, I felt it was a worthy inclusion. Plus the green lava aesthetic is clean as hell, but that's besides the point. Just like before, you have 3 balloons, but with a 3-minute time limit. If you know how she normally works, Pom-Pom creates clones of herself and throws shurikens at you. And the only way to defeat her is to hit the real Pom-Pom until she's defeated. She does that here too, but as Rosalina is equipped with the Ice Flower, you have to freeze the real one with a shot from the Ice Flower. Hitting the fake Pom-Pom will just make the fake one vanish. When the real Pom-Pom's frozen in a block of ice, you'll have to bump into her to knock her into the lava to damage her. The fight would take place in the middle part of the arena with no railing, so knocking her off shouldn't be too difficult. It's a classic Pom-Pom boss fight, but with the elements of Big Bully and Chief Chili thrown into the mix. Beating this boss will give you the Boomerang Rosalina skin. This 4th tour is gonna have a little more emphasis on racing. For this first mission, you need to place first in a 4-person race without taking any damage. It's a single lap race, so it shouldn't be too long. Shy Guys of randomly assigned colors and a full standard kart setup will race you. This challenge takes us to Hurricane Highway, a track inside a raging storm where the roads are slippery, wind gusts are high when gliding, and you'll have to dodge the occasional lightning. You're free to choose your kart combo and character, so choose wisely. And winning the race will net you the Wedding Peach alt. Next mission takes us to Birabuto Baiwei, which is based on the first world in Super Mario Land. It's a desert track with various palm trees, sandy plains, ruined structures, and King Toromesu waits at the end to hurl fireballs at oncoming drivers. This challenge requires you to reach the finish before Metal Mario while playing as Pink Gold Peach. Beating him gives you Dry Bowser as an alt. Third mission asks you to perform 5 Super Mini Turbos in under 1 minute. This should get the player used to charge drifts for longer and to familiarize themselves with what each charge level is. The course, Chain Chomp Dock, is a port surrounded by docked ships, warehouses, shipping containers, and chain chomps along the waterfront. Completing the mission gives you Kung Fu Peach. This is a bit of a departure from Mario Kart tradition, but instead of a Bowser Castle stage preceding Rainbow Road, we have Bowser Kingdom, which is based on the level from Super Mario Odyssey. The track is structured similarly to the Odyssey counterpart, where it's a narrow path forward and upward littered with obstacles. This mission is a bit longer as the whole track is divided in sections and not laps. So now you have to contend with 7 randomly selected Shy Guy opponents of varying colors and standard kart combos. This challenge is a little more standard fare, so this is one of the few that lets you choose a character, kart, and special item when applicable. And, since it's an Odyssey track, Wedding Bowser is the unlockable costume. And of course, we have our own Rainbow Road in the 5th mission. Now, the challenge entails driving through 10 numbered gates in order in under 45 seconds, which can be a bit more difficult as Rainbow Roads are generally tougher to drive on, especially as driving through numbered gates requires more precise driving. And since you're restricted to using the standard kart, tires, and super glider combo, it comes down to which character you find best suited for the job. Beating the challenge rewards you with the Sword Fighter Peach alt. And finally, we've arrived at the boss of the special tour, Fury Bowser from Bowser's Fury. The arena would be a large, sectioned-off part of Hurricane Highway meant to resemble his battles from Bowser's Fury. And while using the Mega Mushroom, you'll have to drive into him at full speed to knock him over while avoiding his fire breath and other projectiles falling from the sky. Peach being the one to take him on is a break from the whole damsel in distress trope Nintendo's been moving away from. Fury Bowser's not only a boss, but also the Bowser skin you unlock for beating this boss fight. But with that, we're finally done with the first 4 tours of Career Mode. From tours 5 through 8, we'll be driving in the 100cc engine class. Also, difficulty will begin to escalate. I'm also going to be showing you what retro tracks I'd bring back and why, just to put it out there. I picked 4 or 5 tracks from each previous Mario Kart game so that no game feels overrepresented. Looking at you, 8 Deluxe. The tracks I've picked also either haven't been remade, or have barely been remade. I also found the ones I chose to have potential for a modern interpretation using mechanics of today's Mario Kart games. I also realize it's kinda weird to include Switch tracks because they're either from the Wii U game or are clearly from Tour, despite what Nintendo may say. So tracks that appeared first in the Booster Course Pass and Tour are going to be considered from the same game. I've also omitted Tour City tracks since I want the focus to be on Mario games. Okay, glad I cleared that up. So starting off with N64 Luigi Raceway, I could totally see the platforms next to the big turns being converted to anti-gravity sections more akin to what they did with Toad's Turnpike, and driving off the end can turn the straightaways into gliding sections. Here you have to drive around the track and collect 30 coins in less than a minute as Baby Luigi. This time around we're introducing Reverse Mode, not to be confused with Reverse Only, where you can only drive by backing up. Now Reverse Mode is where you have to start on the other side of the finish line and complete the course by driving in the opposite direction. And since it's the Green Shell Tour, the rewards will be Koopa themed. This mission's prize is Yellow Yoshi since that skin vaguely looks like a Koopa Troopa. Up next we're going to GBA Lakeside Park to perform 7 Super Mini Turbos in under 45 seconds. I picked this retro track since we haven't gotten a modern remake of it as of yet. I said we haven't gotten them, but seriously, there's so many twists and turns in this track as is, it'd be a great place to practice drifts. The completion reward is the Red Koopa alternate costume. Moving right along to Mission 3, we're going to 3DS Daisy Hills. From the hills to the windmills is a gliding section. You'll be placed just before the ramp and tasked with gliding through the 4 ring-shaped gates in less than 20 seconds. The time limit is more of a formality, really. Should be more than enough time to line yourself up if you need that grace period. Beating the challenge unlocks a Blue Koopa alt. Our next mission tasks us with hitting 5 Goombas with green shells in less than 30 seconds. The track I chose to return was SNES Mario Circuit 4. Outside of Super Circuit, it's weird that this is the only SNES Mario Circuit track to never get a remake. But in my ideal Mario Kart, that would change. Imagine how cool this track would be with modern Mario Kart mechanics. Just look at what Nintendo did with SNES Bowser Castle 3. But that aside, completing this mission gives you Purple Koopa. Mission 5 takes us to GCN Peach Beach, and our mission here is to destroy 5 Cataquacks with triple green shells in less than 20 seconds. Cataquacks are an enemy we seldom see in Mario these days, and besides, think about how stunning this track would look with modern graphics. Not much more to explain as the objective is straightforward enough. The reward is Gold Koopa. For this tour's end boss, Koopa the Quick from Super Mario 64 returns to challenge you. Even though you're already a regular Koopa driving a vehicle, Koopa the Quick is much larger like he was in the game, and decides to run on the legs God gave him. Think of it as a competition to see who's worthy of the title Koopa the Quick. It's a single lap race on N64 Luigi Raceway, since Super Mario 64 debuted on the Nintendo 64 like Mario Kart 64 did. Oh my god, I said 64 so many times. But what makes this a bit of a challenge is that it's a pure race where you won't have any items, but Koopa the Quick can cut through the off-road. So your racing has to be pretty good in order to beat him. Whatever your selected vehicle is, you'll need to leverage speed, mini-turbos, and skillful driving to stand a chance. Beach Koopa being the reward is kinda funny considering his lack of shell. He's appeared in plenty of games, but the Beach Koopa appearing in Mario Maker 2 as a Koopa Troopa car was significant enough for me to make this the boss reward. I'm sure you can guess what my focus will be on this tour. Mission 1 has us return to GCN Mario Circuit to drive through all 12 numbered gates in less than 50 seconds. We'll be driving the track in the opposite direction playing as Baby Mario for this one, and the completion reward will be Orange Yoshi. I chose this track because we've yet to see it returned with a modern coat of paint. Because, let's face it, all the GameCube tracks in Wii look nearly identical to their original counterpart. Same with this next track, sort of. I'm bringing back Switch Sky High Sundae because, despite what the prefix says, or lack thereof in the Booster Course Pass, this is a track designed with Mario Kart Tour in mind. On a theoretically more powerful system polished for this theoretical Mario Kart game, this track has the potential to look absolutely stunning. But anyway, this track requires us to hit 4 paratroopas out of the air with bananas under 30 seconds. Dixie Kong will be our mandatory character for this, and will also be using her special item, the Banana Bunch. This isn't the triple bananas item. Making its return from Mario Kart 64, the Banana Bunch has 5 bananas trailing behind you. Ordinarily great for defense. We'll be using it to snipe the paratroopers with fairly dead-on aim from this track's starting platform. This challenge's reward is Pink Yoshi. In Mission 3, we need to eat 20 bananas on the ground with a piranha plant in less than 30 seconds. The track I chose is 3DS Rock Mountain since, in my opinion, the remake from the Booster Course Pass left more to be desired on the visual front. Initially, I wanted 3DS Mario Circuit to return, but I didn't think it was a great idea to put 2 Mario circuits in the same cup and tour. Nevertheless, the completion reward is Yellow Birdo. For Mission 4, we're having a race again. Playing as Toadette, we need to finish a lap of Wee Toad's factory before Toadsworth does. Reverse mode is on for this track, and mirror mode is activated as well. Both of these conditions would make an otherwise familiar track feel alien to veterans, which may prove to be a challenge when racing against Toadsworth. The prize for winning is a yellow Shy Guy alt. This next challenge is actually based on a mission from Mario Kart DS's mission mode. On the deck of Airship Fortress, we need to hit 15 Rocky Wrenches using the star item in less than a minute. This time though, we can play as anyone. This completion reward is a yellow Magic Koopa alt for Kamek. As you can see, most of these alts were yellow or some kind of fruit-colored Yoshi. I already used Yellow Toad and Yellow Yoshi, so I tried to find suitable replacements. But at last, we've arrived at the tour boss. We'll be back on Airship Fortress's deck, fighting King K. Rool as Donkey Kong. Much like the boss fight from the original Donkey Kong Country, we'll be using the feather item to jump to his head after he throws his crown at you. Avoid the projectile when he throws it at you, and hit his head when the crown is off. To drive the Donkey Kong Country reference home, you'll be forced to use the Rambi Rider standard tires and Super Glider. You'll have a 3-minute time limit and 3 balloons to start, so try to beat him before then. Defeating K. Rool unlocks Donkey Kong Jr. as an alternate costume for Donkey Kong. I envisioned this as a carryover from Tour, where he was a 2D sprite. I don't know how well a 3D model of Donkey Kong Jr. would work, so I thought the sprite would be a safe bet. I'm not set on either one. Please let me know what you think in the comments. The Leaf Tour starts us off with freezing 5 piranha plants with the Ice Flower in less than 20 seconds. The track I chose to come back is SNES Choco Island 1. Since racing on it normally would lend itself to being filled with ramps, a modern interpretation can include those as trick ramps and have terrain variation added in as well. I think the chocolate aesthetic can be hammered home by turning the ramps into big chocolate bars jutting out of the road. I was also thinking of having a chocolate lava cake with liquid chocolate oozing out of it as either part of the track or as a background element. Even the chocolate walls we're used to seeing could be chocolate bars wrapped in those classic colors. But I'm getting carried away. Since you're using the ice flower, the reward is Ice Luigi. Mission 2 is about tricking off of 20 ramps in under 2 minutes in N64 Wario Stadium, and if you ask me, it's about time this gets a remake. Maybe with 2 laps instead of 3 since it did run on for a little while. But the track also has a bunch of ramps to trick off of, so this sort of mission makes sense to me. You're restricted to using dry bones with the MotorStorm chassis. It wouldn't be a new Mario Kart without some new kart-related options. I envision MotorStorm to be a sports bike chassis based off of Lakiitu's Cloud, a sort of successor to the Cloud 9, if you will. The completion reward is Fury Shadow from Bowser's Fury. Mission 3 is another drive through the gates mission while reversing. Incorporating the twists and turns in Wii Dry Dry Ruins' layout might spice things up a bit too, and besides, I think this track would benefit from a remake on consoles. Builder Luigi is the skin you unlock for this one. Mission 4 is about beating Dry Bones in a race as EGAD in DS Luigi's Mansion. Why this is significant is because it's believed that Dry Bones took EGAD's spot as a playable character in Mario Kart DS. As a result, this 2-lap mirror mode race has a bit of a built-in rivalry. It'll function as a standard 1v1 race so you can grab regular items as well. EGAD will also have the Boo as his special item. By default, that's his special item anyway, just like King Boo. The completion reward is Drill Luigi from Mario Wonder. Mission 5 is to collect 40 coins in under 1 minute at Ninja Hideaway from Mario Kart Tour. An actual remake of this track would look absolutely insane, let's be real. And the amount of tricky turns and hidden paths would make coin collecting a substantial challenge. Pom-Pom is the mandatory character here because, I mean, look at her, she already throws shurikens. Beating this challenge nets you the Mr. L alternate costume from Super Paper Mario. And for the boss level, you need to play as Luigi to defeat King Boo at Big Boo's haunt. This battle course is based on the level from Super Mario 64 but would ideally have a more streamlined layout. That way we can include things like the bookshelves, a cameo from the Mad Piano, that rhymes, scuttle bugs on the walls, and the merry-go-round. The King Boo battle is going to be somewhat based off of his Mario Kart DS boss but with some added flourishes. This time you need to collect 50 coins while he chases you and tries to knock your coins out of you. There will also be boos disguised as coins that will also try to knock coins out of you if you hit them. You can tell them apart because they don't rotate like real coins. Boos disappear after you drive into them, but King Boo will keep chasing you. And once he catches up, he'll take half of your coins away and put them back in their original locations. Now, you don't have balloons to lose, but if you haven't collected all the coins before the time runs out, you lose. Luigi drives the Poltergust 4000 with standard tires and a super glider. And when King Boo is defeated, you'll unlock King Boo's Luigi's Mansion appearance. The last of the 100cc tours. Here we have to collect 30 coins in less than a minute. But seeing as I'm bringing back GCN Mushroom City, the cars and buses driving around may prove to be quite the hazard. I chose this track because it's also one of those tracks to never be officially remade. Nevertheless, completing this challenge gives you the Boomerang Bro alt. Mission 2 takes us to 3DS Wario Shipyard where we'll need to glide through 5 gates. I see this as having a more windy flight path, and we can add a second glider ramp to the left platform to get the last gates. It'll make it challenging because you have to choose which gates to glide through each time you jump the ramp. This mission's reward is Fire Bro. Moving on to Mission 3, we're going to GBA Broken Pier. Another track with loads of potential for a modern interpretation, and a total of 0 remakes. If Boo Lake can be used as a basis for how the track could return, elevation changes would be cool. Maybe some parts are submerged in water. Boos can return as a stage hazard to grab a hold of the player and slow them down if you drive into them. Apart from some creepy mountains in the background, maybe some boathouses and rickety old boats can decorate the outside of the track. We can even bring back the mechanic of the railing breaking apart by having parts of the fence break off if you drive into them, further increasing the danger of falling off as you finish the race. You'll be tasked with driving through 13 numbered gates in order in less than a minute as King Boo. The feather item is the only item you can get from the item boxes in this challenge, so you'll need to familiarize yourself with timing gap jumps to get gates otherwise located in inaccessible areas. He's also locked to using the Phantom chassis from Mario Kart Wii. You also get the Ice Bro ult when you win. In Mission 4, you need to hit 10 Cheeps that have washed ashore with the Fire Flower in less than 30 seconds. The track I chose is SNES Koopa Beach 2. We haven't seen it since DS, but I think it would definitely benefit from a modern makeover. Those grass patches can consist of tall blades of grass accompanied by palm trees with a colorful chain link fence in place of the old colored blocks. The area with a tiny island can easily be converted into an underwater driving section. And those pits in the ground can take a cue from Dolphin Shoals and have air bubbles rise up and give you a boost when tricked off of. I think the track should overall be scaled up to better suit a 3-lap structure. And when you win, you unlock the Bluebirdo ult. For Mission 5, you, as Wiggler, have to beat Yoshi in a race while you're both tiny. It's the same effect as when a lightning bolt shrinks you down. But to compensate for the decreased speed, your only items are standard and golden mushrooms. But also, it's easier to fall off since you'll be racing on DS Rainbow Road. I'm still of the belief that not putting DS Rainbow Road in Mario Kart 8 is the most wasted potential I've ever seen in my life. Seriously, in the game that introduced anti-gravity, it fit right in with the other tracks. The prize for beating Yoshi is the Cat Rosalina costume. As for the boss mission, this serves as both a callback to a boss mission in DS's mission mode in addition to being a reference to Super Mario Bros. Wonder. You have to reach the finish before the racing Wiggler, who is essentially a giant Wiggler on roller skates. We're racing in GCN Mushroom City since GCN Mushroom Bridge isn't going to be in this game. What makes this even more significant is that you're Waluigi racing on the Wild Wiggler, roller tires, and paper glider. For those of you not in the loop, this was once the meta of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. I highly doubt Nintendo would ever bother with a deep cut like this, but it'd still be badass if they did. For the completion reward, it's Waluigi in his tennis outfit. Fitting for the first Waluigi reward since Mario Tennis was his first game and he's the undisputed king of the spin-off games. All of his alternate costumes are based on the spin-off games as a matter of fact. More on that later. This next set of tours are going to be in 150cc and also nitro tracks. This next track is called Mini Golf Madness because I think the potential for creative track design when shrunken down to the size of a golf ball in a mini golf course is boundless. Imagine a giant racetrack full of windy twists and turns in which we have to avoid giant golf balls. Anyway, before I get ahead of myself, perform 5 Ultra Mini Turbos in less than 30 seconds to unlock Red Birdo. Mission 2 involves collecting 15 coins while reversing before time expires. This track is Bob-Omb Trenches. Think of it as a sequel to Bob-Omb Battlefield from Super Mario 64. But here, we're in the trenches of an active war zone between the Bob-Omb Buddies and Black Bob-Ombs. It'll be hard enough navigating the narrow trenches all while you're dodging bullet bills and big Bob-Ombs dropping from warships overhead. Completing this mission unlocks Green Birdo. Up next in Mission 3, we're going to Shy Guy Colony. Sort of like if we could drive out of bounds in Sunset Wilds. In normal gameplay, we could glide across the Canyon River, drive across a stone arch, perhaps drive through an ancient Shy Guy settlement built into a cliff face, and explore the caves they mine for resources. For this challenge, you'll be playing as Baby Peach. And you have to finish the lap in mirror and reverse mode against Baby Mario, Baby Luigi, and Baby Daisy, and have 10 coins in your possession. Easier said than done, but you are restricted to using monster tires. And while regular items will be available to you, you're locked to using the bubble item as your special item. Your completion reward is the Orange Birdo. In Mission 4, you need to go to Galumba Glacier to finish 2 laps in less than a minute and 30 seconds. You'll have to navigate the crevices of glaciers, cross over snowy hills, and drive through a village of winter-dwelling Galumbas. And for completing your task, you'll unlock Light Blue Birdo. For Mission 5, I want to put my own spin on the concept of Bowser's Castle. This time, it's Bowser Jr.'s castle. A giant sand castle on the beach decorated by flags bearing his logo, toy shovels, buckets, moats, and canals of water to drive in and around. Sidesteppers can also make for some appropriate road hazards too. But like in a similar mission in Mario Kart DS's mission mode, you need to drive through a section of the course and hit all the real item boxes while avoiding the fake ones. The real ones give you a mushroom, but hitting a fake one will result in a mission failure. That is, if the time running out doesn't stop you first. You can use any character, but your cart is going to be the Bolt Buggy with off-road tires and a parafoil. Beating this mission unlocks the White Birdo ult. And of course, we're ending this tour with a boss. Here in Marais Bay, Gringills swim about a shallow pool of water surrounded by sand at the beach with a small pirate ship partially sunken beneath the water's surface, with only its deck peeking out above. Players can also drive inside the derelict vessel. But in this boss mission, we're restricted to the main deck and must defeat Bob-Omb in under 2 minutes. As Birdo, your only item is the banana, and you need to lay them down on the floor as he spins toward you for an attack. But be careful, as you might accidentally trip on your own banana peels. Regardless, trip up Bob-Omb 3 times to subdue him. Doing so rewards you with the Black Birdo alternate skin. To start us off, we're going to Monty Mole Mountain, a section track where we have to start off inside a cave town inhabited by Monty Moles, out through the tunnels, and up a snow-covered mountain with giant snowballs tumbling down. But as Toadsworth in an early 1900s coupe chassis, you need to drive through all 8 numbered gates in order while collecting 15 coins within half a minute. Adding 2 objectives to one mission can certainly add to the challenge. For completing this mission, you'll unlock Orange Shy Guy. But for mission 2, you play as Luma to complete a lap under 1 minute. Doesn't sound too complicated until you realize drifting is disabled. Taking away a fundamental mechanic in this instance would add to the challenge and force the player to reconsider which kart combo is the best for the job. Rosalina's Space Station is the name of this nitro track I'm introducing. Think of it as an evolution of the Comet Observatory from Super Mario Galaxy, but much bigger and more elaborate. Like if it had a baby with Mario Kart 8's Rainbow Road. And if the turns are just as dangerous as that, this mission can be especially tricky. The completion reward is Blue Shy Guy. As for mission 3, we're going to Beat Block Dash, a track in the sky that isn't terribly complicated, but has the gimmick of having parts of the road disappear and reappear to the beat of the music. Some shortcuts may be impossible and some item boxes may be unobtainable depending on your timing, although there may be some parts with back-to-back gliding to avoid falling out of bounds. But it may cost you speed and item boxes. Executed properly, I think this would be a truly unique track. In the case of this mission, you'll have to glide through all 7 numbered gates in order in less than 15 seconds. Completing your task will unlock Light Blue Shy Guy. For mission 4, you need to use the star as Metal Mario to destroy 16 Goombas. You're also forced to use the classic DS combo, the B-Dasher, Slick Tires, and Parachute. This track is Peach's Castle Siege. Think of a race in and around Peach's Castle, but with Toads and Koopas attacking each other as the remains of Peach's Castle are covered in fire and smoke. A sort of last stand on Bowser's front. You could justify this mission as Mario donning the metal cap to do his part to defeat Bowser's ground forces. Sorry I'm getting too into this. But your completion reward is White Shy Guy. For mission 5, we're going to Pokey Oasis, a desert water hybrid level populated by Pokies. You'll have to trick off of 10 ramps to unlock Pink Shy Guy. And for the boss mission, we're bringing back a Mario Kart DS boss. As Diddy Kong, we need to beat Goomboss in a race while he's dropping mushrooms and Goombas in his trail. We need to finish 3 laps before he does. You'll also be required to use the Soda Jet chassis, which is not only a chassis returning from Mario Kart 7 and Tour, but also a soft reference to Diddy Kong Racing. Winning this race against Goomboss will unlock the Black Shy Guy alt. Starting off the Shine Sprite tour, we're going to Gooper Blooper Temple to destroy 5 Bob-Omb cars with the Fire Flower. Any other method will not count. Aesthetically, I was thinking something similar to the Water Temple from The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, but with a stone structure prominently featuring a Gooper Blooper statue shooting water from its tentacles and mouth. Some roads will consequently be wet, if not completely underwater. The light-colored stonework and pillars will also be draped in vines and feature Nokis from Mario Sunshine as spectators in reference to the Gooper Blooper boss from Sunshine. We're also going to borrow some architectural features from Noki Bay to solidify the reference. The Shell Towers, Underwater City, and the Tomb namely. When you complete this mission, you unlock the Builder Mario alternate costume. For mission 2, we're going to Bitty Bug Boogie, a big dance hall kind of like Electrodrome but with more of a funky jazz vibe to it. As PD Piranha, you need to use the Piranha Plant item to eat 10 Bitty Bugs in less than 20 seconds. You'll also be forced to use the Piranha Prowler, Slim Tires, and Flower Glider. The completion reward is the Builder Toadette skin. In Mission 3, we're visiting the Cap Kingdom from Mario Odyssey to reverse through the numbered gates in less than half a minute. Our prize for this mission is the Green Magic Koopa alt. In Mission 4, we go to Koopa Cornfield, a farm run by a team of Koopas on tractors. In a race, you would normally start off in a barn, drive through the paths that cut through the fields of corn, back through the rolling hills of the pasture, avoiding the aforementioned Koopas on tractors, and loop back around into the barn. The challenge here is to complete a lap without gliding under 45 seconds. Gliding ramps in some parts of the track will function as boost ramps now. The idea is to take something that's normally there, a way to force the player to get creative and find the best combo for the job. Complete this challenge and you'll unlock Red Magic Koopa. For Mission 5, we need to reach the finish before the 11 other Toads while also being restricted to shell items. 2 Toads will represent each of the 5 colors respectively, leaving the 11th Toad to be Captain Toad. The shell items we're restricted to include blue shells, and the single and triple variants of red and green shells. Traditionally for this track, you'd be starting from the bottom of a skyscraper with a Toadette fountain statue in the lobby, race up the decadent golden marble staircase, perhaps a gliding section over a tennis court, a quick drive through the pool, and finally, an anti-grav finish up the elevator shaft with piranha plants coming in and out of the elevator doors as you ascend. But since you're driving the track in reverse mode, you'll be driving through all these set pieces in the reverse order. Once you win the race as Boom Boom, you unlock Pit Crew Toadette. And for the boss fight, we're going to the last new battle course, Delfino Plaza. Since it's so fun to just run around there anyway, I think it's criminal that this town wasn't ever turned into a battle course. As for the boss fight itself, you play as Bowser Jr. in a 1v1 round of Shine Thief against Nabbit. A classic thief versus thief battle. Nabbit will start out with a shine in his possession. With the aid of the minimap, you need to track him down and use red shells to knock it out of him, and steal. You need to hold on to it for 20 seconds while Nabbit tries to ambush you with red shells and bloopers and steal it back. If Nabbit has the shine for 20 seconds or 5 minutes pass in the round with no winner, you'll automatically lose. In Super Mario Sunshine, Bowser Jr. first appeared and pretended to be Mario while stealing Isle Delfino's shine sprites. So in this mission, Nabbit tries to surpass you. Using the clown car, standard tires, and propeller glider combo, you put Nabbit in his place and win the battle. And doing so unlocks Wonder Bowser Jr. as an alt. For this first mission, we're going to Lakitu Village, which, in my mind, is like a Sky Garden 2.0 with Lakitus flying about. After all, these Koopas live on clouds anyway, but it could be populated by floating towers in the clouds like something out of the Jetsons. This challenge is simple enough, however. Kamek, while giant, would have to complete 2 laps within the time limit. Kind of like if the Mega Mushroom's effect was permanent. He'd also be forced to use the Magic Cruiser with off-road tires and the Beast Glider. Completing this challenge unlocks the Green Shy Guy alt. Mission 2 tasks you with going to Birdo Beach to collect 40 coins in under 45 seconds. Very little margin for error as the coins are so close together and you have so little time. Your driving will have to have a notable degree of precision. Off to the sidelines, you'll see numerous Birdos in beachwear soaking up the sun while you're racing up and down the shore and through the coral reef. And we finish the lap by being shot out of a Birdo-shaped cannon underwater back onto the beach. But given the nature of the mission, we'll only be confined to a small portion of the track. Beat this mission, and you'll unlock the Red Yoshi alt. As for the third mission, Sweet Treat Speedway would be a dessert-themed track similar to Ice Ice Outpost in concept, in the sense that it's essentially going to be 2 different tracks running parallel with one another, except it's themed after candies and other sugary snacks. I think it'd be cool if, on the third lap, giant bottles of soda open up and spill its contents to submerge part of the track to provide a somewhat different driving experience. But for this challenge, you'll need to drive through the 12 numbered gates within the time limit. And as an added touch, I think it would be cool if the gates were modeled after donuts with numbers written in frosting or sprinkles on the icing. Whichever would be easier for the player to read. You'll be required to use the feather to make otherwise impossible jumps in order to pass through specific gates. Your completion reward for this mission is White Yoshi. For Mission 4, we're going to Bowser's Warped Orbit, which itself is based on the board from Mario Party 8. We'd even have MC Ballyhoo replace Lakitu on this track. It's space-themed like a Rainbow Road, but the space station aesthetic honestly goes hard, especially over the sun like it is in its original appearance. So it would function as a sort of mix between Rainbow Road and Bowser's Castle, with the floaty physics and all too. The warp tubes in the board could easily be reimagined as anti-gravity sections. For this mission, however, we need to reach the finish without touching a single coin in less than a minute. Doesn't sound too bad until you realize how difficult it can be if the coins are close together. So you might want to be a lightweight character with good handling for this mission. Black Yoshi is the costume you'd unlock for beating this mission. Oh, this 5th track is something special. Ideally, I'd force the player to race with their Mii in a SNES suit with a certain kart combo, but the kart combo would serve its purpose as a reference. You'd normally unlock these parts through the shop, but imagine a kart chassis in the shape of a GameCube with its controller port serving as headlights. And when using this chassis, the dice roll sound effect for getting an item box would be replaced with the GameCube logo music. And then for tires, the Wii wheels couldn't be a more perfect fit. It'd be cool to have the lights on the bottom of the controllers turn on in accordance to the player using the tires. The glider would be a Game Boy Advance that uses the classic startup sound when activated. I can also totally see the LCD screen bearing the character's logo to reflect which character is driving it. What all these parts have in common is that they represent consoles Mario Kart was playable on. The 5th mission is essentially a race against the clock. A simple and straightforward challenge in a track I call Mario Kart Museum. You start this race off in what appears to be SNES Mario Circuit 1. And while you look like what you'd expect with modern graphics, the track itself and audio are directly lifted from Super Mario Kart. But after the second turn, a white light envelops the screen and we transition to N64 Moo Moo Farm. Again, same blurry graphics and compressed music. After passing through the arch, you might have to deal with the occasional dip in the road or Monty Mole for a bit, but once you pass through the stone pillars, you transition out of those Mushroom Cup tracks and into Section 2 in GBA Bowser Castle 2. You're hopping over the lava in that second to last straightaway with a fence-looking floor. Then, after making that right turn, you transition to GCN Mushroom Bridge. Once again, exactly as it looked and sounded on the GameCube. It's pretty much a straightaway, but with the cars, buses, and treacherous bridge near the end of the race. Then, once you pass through the track's traditional starting line, we move on to Section 3, which prioritizes the Star Cup tracks. Here, we start at the top of the mountain in DSDK Pass and progress down the windy slopes till we reach the big jump down the hill. That's where we transition to dropping down the waterfall in Wii Koopa Cape. Overall pretty standard stuff from the original Wii incarnation. But since it's meant to directly resemble the original version, those spinning hazards shrink you this time. But as you make the big jump outside the tube, we move on to the 4th and final section of this track. This is going to cover 2 special cup tracks, starting with 3DS DK Jungle. You'd exit the temple and transition right into the final gliding section over the water. I felt it relevant to represent Mario Kart 7 this way since it first introduced both underwater driving and gliding. After you land, you'll make the sharp left turn on one of the 2 paths. And right as you make that last jump for the finish line, you transition to another gliding section, specifically the mechanical launch stars that shoot you into the 2 alternating paths on Wii U Rainbow Road. Which path you were on in 3DS DK Jungle will influence which of the 2 Rainbow Road paths you'll lean toward. Since this part is pretty much entirely anti-grav, it's a good way to introduce 8's debut mechanic. You proceed to the finish line as normal to win the race. It's a nice drive down memory lane. Get it? And a worthy challenge to complete in the allotted time. This would also be the first track to be a retro track while also being something completely new. Your completion reward for this challenge is Light Blue Yoshi. And to finish off this egg tour, we're going to our first retro battle course, GCN Pipe Plaza. As Yoshi, you can only use eggs and red shells while driving the Egg Wand with roller tires and a super glider. Your mission is to defeat Kamek and the 3 other Magic Koopas in a 4v1 balloon battle. The red, yellow, and green Magic Koopas will only use red shells to attack you, so you need to both attack and defend. You have 3 balloons to start, but each of the Magic Koopas have 1. After you've finished picking them off, Kamek will appear out of one of the pipes, but with 3 balloons instead of 1 like the others. Mind you, there's also a 2-minute time limit, so time really isn't on your side for this one either. But once you've defeated the wizard, you'll unlock Boshi from Super Mario RPG as a Yoshi skin. The missions from here on out will be in the 200cc speed class. These are also going to be entirely made up of retro tracks, just an FYI. This is a pretty standard challenge. Collect 12 coins and perform 4 mini-turbos in less than a minute. For this track, we're going to switch Squeaky Clean Sprint. Yeah, I know this is a tour track, but officially Nintendo disagrees. So I gotta go by that. But since this track is going to be for the new game on the new system, it doesn't need to accommodate mobile hardware. Therefore, the track designers have much more license to go crazy with visuals and fidelity. Completing this mission unlocks Wedding Mario. For the second mission, we're going to Wii U Mario Circuit to destroy 15 Goombas with triple green shells. We've already had similar missions from DS's mission mode, but the inclusion of Goomba stacks can make the challenge a little more interesting. Some of you might think there are better tracks to bring back in this new Mario Kart game. And you know what? I agree with you. But there's no doubt that this track is the face of Mario Kart 8. Literally, it's on the cover. This was already a pretty track back in 2014. Can you imagine how good it would look on modern tech? Anyway, the completion reward for this is the green Dry Bones alternate costume. For the third challenge, we're going to N64 Calamari Desert to drive through 10 gates in less than 50 seconds. It'll start off with triple mushrooms in case you need to beat the train or the clock. Honestly, I like the way the track played in 8 Deluxe, especially with the alternating paths that take you inside the train tunnels. Visually though, the track can certainly look better, especially on hardware meant to surpass the Switch. You'll be forced to use Hammer Bros on a standard ATV with monster tires and the wonderful Wings glider. And your reward for beating this challenge is the Blue Dry Bones alternate costume. For the 4th track, we're going to 3DS Maka Woohoo. I figured since Miis are playable, they should be represented by at least one track. Besides, Woohoo Town in 8 Deluxe gave us a glimpse at how beautiful the island could look. I'd love to see such visual fidelity realized on an actual track with the modern flourishes of Mario Kart's potentially new gameplay. I chose Maka Woohoo over Woohoo Loop simply because I thought it was a much more interesting track to race on, based on its showing in 7 anyway. For this challenge specifically, we're going to be focusing on the big gliding section near the end of the track. And with a generous 20-second time limit, we need to glide through the 5 gates in order to unlock the Red Dry Bones costume. Mission 5 features GBA Cheep Cheep Island. While Tour's remake was certainly a step in the right direction, we can take things further with our new rendition. The layout will more closely resemble its original counterpart, but with the elevation changes of Tour's version. Aesthetically, we can add beach houses to the pier around the end of the track in addition to more palm trees. Playing on the track isn't exactly mind-blowing, but it's one of those tracks that are pretty to look at, and Mario Kart is no stranger to these aesthetic tracks. Anyway, this mission requires you play as Shy Guy and destroy the 15 item boxes while avoiding the fake ones. Mirror mode might mess with you if you're accustomed to the usual layout of the track. And, of course, hitting the fake item boxes means you'll fail the challenge. And with this being on 200cc this time, that already makes the challenge much harder. But when you finish the mission, you'll unlock Tanuki Rosalina. This tour's boss is against Donkey Kong in Wii Funky Stadium. He's not in a cart or anything. It's just a giant Donkey Kong hopping around the arena throwing barrels at you in reference to the original Donkey Kong arcade game. What's significant about this boss fight is that you're no longer the damsel in distress of 1981. Oh no. Pauline is going on the offensive this time. Pauline has to drive the Roaring Ace with slim tires and propeller glider. The Roaring Ace is a standard bike chassis which would be new to Mario Kart career. Think of it as a Harley-Davidson Model W mixed with an Indian Scout. But to defeat Donkey Kong, you'll be using the sound box as both offense and defense. If for whatever reason you can't avoid the barrels DK throws at you, you can break them apart with your sound box. You're supposed to drive up to him before he has the chance to escape, and use your sound box when you're within range to hurt him. Afterwards, he'll jump to another part of the map to throw more barrels at you. Once he's hit for the 3rd time, you win! And your prize for beating Donkey Kong is Pauline in her mare costume. For this first mission, we're going to 3DS Shy Guy Bazaar to complete the lap within the allotted time while also avoiding Bob-Omb scattered on the road. On 200cc, you'll be expected to drive quickly and carefully. Getting hit by even one of them results in failure. You'll start with triple mushrooms, so use them wisely. Truthfully, I picked this retro track because the Arabian aesthetic would look immaculate with an updated art style. Once you find the optimal path and complete your objective, you'll unlock Wario's biker outfit. This next mission would theoretically be very challenging, yet, paradoxically, the track I'm bringing back is rather simple. It's Wii Luigi Circuit, but your objective is to collect 40 coins while avoiding Bob-Omb cars in less than 25 seconds. As Nabbit, you'll be following the coin path around the track, but what makes it hard is that the path may collide with the path the Bob-Omb cars drive on, so you'll need to time your driving to collect the coins while avoiding damage. The time limit is meant to add more pressure. I chose this track because it's one of the few Wii tracks to never be remade. I'd totally see the final turn incorporating anti-gravity along the outside of the bend, but when you complete this mission, you'll be rewarded with Orange Luma. This next mission takes place on N64 DK's Jungle Parkway, and we have to complete a 2-lap race against Funky Kong on mirror mode. It'll be a pretty standard challenge where you have access to the basic items, but no matter who you choose, the golden shell will be your special item. The way I envision this item working is that when thrown, it'll function like a green shell, but it breaks apart upon hitting something. But what makes this item special is that it would leave behind a trail of coins in its path. So, depending on the circumstances, you could go from 0 to 10 max coins rather quickly, assuming you follow the path it leaves behind. Plus, if you manage to nail someone with a golden shell, all of their coins will fall out. Funky Kong would be using the standard cart setup with no special item. I picked this track too because it could also use a modern makeover. There's also one main thing I would change about this track. On the big jump across the river, that could easily be a glider section, The steamboat could be stationary and we can use the top of the funnel for a double item box area. The area would be small, so you'll have to be pretty precise to get it. Also, while we made the landing area bigger to allow for easier turning, we can revert it back to that sharp turn it was on the N64. That way we can add a half pipe to make that turn feel snappier. To be honest, I have no idea why the Wii version of the track didn't do this, considering it gave us half pipes in the first place. Nevertheless, this mission's reward is Waluigi in his golf outfit. Like I said, king of the Mario spin-offs. Mission 4 takes us to Tour Piranha Plant Pipeline. It was really disappointing to see 8 Deluxe's Booster Course Pass didn't bring this track over from Tour. Regardless of what Nintendo does for their next Mario Kart, I have full confidence they'll bring this track back. Not just with updated visuals, but with anti-gravity and all. It can get twisty enough as is in its base form. They can expand on that even further by making the pipes take more advantage of vertical space to justify anti-gravity. We're not in Tour anymore. And like the other retro tracks I mentioned, we can follow the precedent of Mario Kart 7 and 8 and reinvent these older tracks for the new age while staying true to what we love about them. But given this track's inherent use of alternate paths and windy layout, this mission requires you drive through the numbered gates in order in less than 35 seconds. By completing this challenge, you would unlock Striker's Waluigi. Now for Mission 5, we're going to Wii U Sunshine Airport. Yet another heavily featured track from 8 and 8 Deluxe, as well as being a fan favorite. It also provides contrast against the other tracks that have appeared thus far. Here you'll start at one end of the starting building and reverse out of the other end. You have 25 seconds and you can't slip on any of the bananas on the floor. Also, your kart combo will be the Muscle Charger, Slick Tires, and Balloon Glider. The Muscle Charger is a new kart chassis, since we can't have a new Mario Kart without a new muscle car. Your completion reward would be a Wario Man alternate costume. And of course, we gotta end the Bob-Omb Tour off with King Bob-Omb as its end boss. And like the original DS counterpart, Wario will be the one to engage him in combat. This time though, the mechanics of the fight will be different and Wario will have to use the Flame Rider with Monster Tires and Cap Glider. This bike combo is meant to resemble the Wario bike from the WarioWare games. The Cap Glider appeared in Mario Kart Tour, but now it serves as a retroactive reference to Super Mario Bros. Wonder. We're going to N64 Block Fort for this fight, as it's a close enough approximation to Mario 64's Bob-Omb Battlefield. So, using Bob-Ombs, Wario will have to drive from the top of, say, the red platform to the top of the blue one, where King Bob-Omb is. He'll be throwing bombs at you from his vantage point, so crossing the bridge directly may not be the best idea. But by using an indirect approach to reach him, you can hit him with a Bob-Omb which will blast him all the way to the blue platform where you'll have to repeat the process 2 more times until you hit him for a 3rd and final time atop the yellow platform. You'll only have 2 minutes to finish him off, so you'll need to be quick and efficient with your battle tactics. Once you beat King Bob-Omb, you'll unlock Mario's appearance from Super Mario 64. You know, in reference to King Bob-Omb's first appearance. The Mario 64 costume is also significant as it's Mario's first 3D platforming appearance. Since the Super Bell transforms the user into their cat form, the costume rewards for this tour will be themed on animal power-ups. That being said, the first mission has us trick off of 12 ramps in less than 45 seconds at GBA Luigi Circuit. Obviously there aren't any trick ramps inherent to this track. However, we can take a cue from Mario Kart Tour's playbook and add some ramps throughout the course. Doesn't seem so bad, but since we'll be traveling at blistering 200cc speeds, hitting all those ramps may not be the easiest thing in the world, especially on this slippery, rainy track. I know the track may not seem like much on a surface level, but come on, we've seen what Nintendo can do with these old GBA tracks. Plus, I've always considered this one of those aesthetic tracks I mentioned a little bit ago. The whole rainy atmosphere we've got going on here has always been such a mood for me. You're free to use any combo you want, so long as the chassis falls under the standard bike category, which, of course, restricts you to whatever chassis you've purchased from the shop or otherwise unlocked. Once you've accomplished your mission, you're rewarded with Penguin Toadette. For Mission 2, we're going to arguably one of the most beloved tracks from Mario Kart 8, Mount Wario. I wouldn't change much about this track really, just bringing it up to high fidelity of course. The mission itself would be pretty simple. Using Section 3's gliding ramp, you need to glide through the 4 gates in order to unlock Kitsune Luigi. The gates won't be as easy to glide through as their appearance in 8, just farther and spread further apart to add to the challenge. Now, Mission 3 requires you to use King Bob-Omb to complete a reverse lap without getting hit in less than 30 seconds. The angry sun will still be a problem and more pogies will populate the track than usual. DS Desert Hills is the track I'm bringing back because I think it would really benefit from a modern makeover. The normal version of the track can have a glider ramp in the valley with pokies, while the reverse version can have one at the end of the initial straightaway after you pass the pyramid. But in both versions, those windy turns could be anti-grav sections, easily. Just look at how steep they are. You'll also be forced to use the Crazy Jaxi ATV chassis. The name itself is a sort of nod to the Crazy Taxi games. But the chassis itself is a new creation based off the Jaxi you ride around in Mario Odyssey's Sand Kingdom. I'd imagine this chassis would boast high speed while lacking handling just like its game counterpart. Dash rings would also be your special item returning from Mario Kart Tour. Completing this mission unlocks Tanuki Mario as an alt for Mario. In Mission 4, I'm bringing back Wii Bowser's Castle. There's so many steep areas in this track, how could we not incorporate anti-grav into the updated design? We can even incorporate a gliding section on the final lap with a Bowser statue. But for this particular mission, we start at the geyser section at the end of the loop and have to reverse through all of that until we reach the finish line. We have 20 seconds to complete this challenge, and getting hit will seriously slow you down. But once you've beaten this mission, you unlock the Cat Peach alternate costume. And since we're bringing back tracks that have never been remade for the most part, GCN Rainbow Road will be the last retro track for this tour. If Nintendo could breathe new life into classic Rainbow Roads like they did in 8 and 8 Deluxe, imagine how beautiful this track will look with an updated art style. Furthermore, those spiral helix turns around the middle and end of the race can easily be angled more to include anti-gravity racing. Given how difficult it could be to drive on the original track, especially on said spiral helix turns, our mission would be to drive through the gates within a certain time as Funky Kong. Your completion reward this time would be Cat Mario. A little foreshadowing for this tour's boss fight. Speaking of which, you'll be playing as Bowser this time and be confined to the courtyard of Switch Dragon Palace. And you'll have to face off against Giga Cat Mario. Ordinarily there would be 2 dragon statues outside, but we're removing them for this fight. Giga Cat Mario would be just as big as those statues because if he was the same size as he is in Bowser's Fury, I don't think we could have a boss arena big enough for him. Plus, I'm of the opinion that this battle map is the most fair and balanced course from 8 Deluxe, which is why I've included it. But anyway, Giga Cat Mario will try to swipe you if you're too close, but jump in the air and lunge toward you at a distance or run up and swipe at you. You'll need to avoid his attacks and hit him 3 times with your Bowser shell in order to succeed. Giga Cat Mario is pretty fast, so your timing has to be tight in order to beat him. But once you do, you'll unlock Meowser as an alt for Bowser. We're finally at the last set of challenges for Career Mode. Let's make it count. The first mission is about performing 5 Ultra Mini Turbos in less than 50 seconds. Considering how long it can take to charge up one of those, you'll be able to race around the track however many times you can to charge it up. From this mission forward, your kart will be locked to a preset, this time featuring another original creation, a futuristic-looking sport bike chassis called the Octane Overcharger. For the retro track, I want to represent the original Mario Kart 8 DLC with at least 1 track. And to complement this drift-based challenge, we're going back to Wii U Dragon Driftway. I'm going to break my rules a little bit and include rewards that reference Mario Kart Tour. That being said, this mission's completion reward is Gold King Bob-Omb. Up next, we're going to SNES Vanilla Lake 2. And as you might expect with the return of such an old track, we're going to update things a bit, preferably so that it's less annoying to drive on. Since the track already takes place on the ice of a partially frozen lake, we can take advantage of that and lean into that theme. Portions of the road can be broken up into parts of the glacier at different elevations to add some variety and tricking opportunities. We could also adjust this initial narrow section with snow blocks by tearing down the wall, expanding the road further into the off-road, and replacing the aforementioned blocks with a line of freezies. The path afterwards would have more ice to drive on, but with each new lap, chunks of the ice will sink below the water until the final lap where it's as narrow as the original. As for the snow blocks near the end of the track, we can replace them with a valley of snowmen. We can also scale the track up so it's not as narrow as the original SNES and GBA counterparts. That last part with the snowmen is the area we're going to focus on in this mission. Armed with triple green shells, you have 40 seconds to destroy 15 of the snowmen. After you do that, you'll be rewarded with gold Petey Piranha. Moving on to Mission 3, we're going to GCN Wario Coliseum. Another track that's never been remade. Its steep and twisty roads would have made it a perfect fit for Mario Kart 8's anti-gravity, so we're giving it a second chance here. Not only could we actually populate the Coliseum with crowds of spectators, but adjust other parts like the jump across the pit to incorporate a short gliding section. What makes this track even more challenging on 200cc is that, for the mission, you need to complete a lap by yourself with drifting and tricking disabled, with the time limit being a restriction too. This is a test of pure skill. Drifting and tricking is also integral to Mario Kart's gameplay, so removing it in this mission only further contributes to the challenge. But once completed, you unlock the Gold King Boo alt. For the next mission, I'd love to see a modern take on DS Bowser's Castle. Think about it. The big jump by the end of the track could be a gliding section which can supplement or outright replace the shifting platforms. The spinning bridge on the reverse version of the track can be a shorter gliding section as well. There's tons of untapped potential here. But for this mission, you'll be confined to the courtyard below the spinning bridge and restricted to reversing as your primary means of movement. You have to collect 40 coins this way, and when you do, you unlock Gold Dry Bowser. Now you may have noticed that the past 4 skins have been gold alts for King Bob-Omb, Petey, King Boo, and Bowser respectively. They're alts since they're in the heavyweight class regardless, unlike Metal or Gold Mario, which are heavier than regular Mario. But speaking of whom, Gold Mario is the unlockable skin for Metal Mario in Mission 5. For the final retro track of Mario Kart career, I'm going to end things off on yet another track that's never been remade, GBA Rainbow Road. I've always found the gimmick of ramp railing super interesting, and it certainly makes this Rainbow Road stand out from all the others. Some parts of the road can be at an incline, the ramp railings can be used for shortcuts if you're skilled enough, and the straight section with jumps can be converted into a gliding part. In the original, lightning clouds are scattered about and can shrink you when struck by their lightning. Maybe we can bring this back, having this Rainbow Road cast in a rainstorm and have parts of the track glow just before lightning strikes it. Kinda like what they did for Cloud Top Cruise in 8. Also, just look at the original track icon. It's like the original track designers always wanted this to include verticality. But for this challenge, you're forced to be tiny like in the other mission from 8 tours ago. Here we have to complete 3 laps in less than 2 minutes while stuck like this. While this would slow you down considerably, remember that you're on 200cc. Besides, you'll be forced to use the golden mushroom as your special item, so that would make speeding up and using shortcuts a lot easier. Which may work against you considering how hard it would be to stay on this track. So then, if beating this challenge unlocks Gold Mario, what could I possibly have in store for the final challenge? Why, we're going to be taking things full circle, of course. In this final boss mission, you play as Mario in SNES Battle Circuit 4. In this 7v1 balloon battle, you have 2 minutes to defeat Luigi, Peach, Yoshi, Bowser, Donkey Kong, Koopa Troopa, and Toad while they all hunt you down. The original cast of Super Mario Kart, the very first Mario Kart game, have to hunt you down and eliminate you while you play as the title character. You start off with 3 balloons, but each NPC has 1. But don't underestimate them, as they would act very aggressively toward you. We're really throwing it back to Super Mario Kart with this one, which is why everyone, including you, is forced to use the pipe frame with standard tires and the super glider. However, you're free to choose any of the special items you've unlocked for Mario so far. Remember, each character is assigned their own special item, but it's also unique based on their alternate costume. So for example, Mario's default special item is the Fire Flower, but you can swap to the hammer as that would be Builder Mario's special item. Whatever you deem to be the best special item for this mission, use it. Either way, once you defeat all 7 of your opponents, you'll unlock the final alternate costume for Mario, SNES Mario. Yeah, Tour had this before, but unlocking the costume in this manner feels more meaningful to me. I wouldn't make any major changes to the course itself. The only thing I'd really change is to replace that patch of dirt in the middle with a 4-sided glider ramp. That way, players can wreak havoc from the skies as well as on the ground. It would also make reaching players over the walls much easier, given the size of this map. But after finishing this mission, finishing career mode, we fade to black and roll credits. Afterwards, the notification appears on the Special Unlocks tab in the shop. Once there, you'll see that completing career mode now allows any character to access all the special items the game has to offer. Now if you really wanted it, Mario can use a Bowser shell for instance. And since the special item you equip affects stats, the possibilities open up greatly from your accomplishment. If you made it this far in the video, drop a fire emoji in the comments, leave a like, subscribe, and become a member. I hope that this project, this hypothetical mode in my hypothetical Mario Kart game does what I wanted it to do. To honor Mario's history. I know some costumes you like might be absent, so please forgive me. I really tried to cast a wide net. Besides, I feel like 96 alternate costumes is plenty. 135 if you include all the default costumes. and a whopping 168 if you count all of the purchasable and unlockable Mii costumes from the shop I had planned. This isn't predicting the next Mario Kart because I don't think Nintendo would do exactly what I had in mind to a T. I hope they can exceed my expectations, however grand they are. Whatever the outcome, I hope they respect the brilliant history that Mario Kart and the Mario series established over the decades. I might make more videos about Mario Kart career if this does well. But either way, thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next time. All hail the M!